Many people who begin practicing meditation or they begin following a particular spiritual path mistake or have the mistaken idea that all it is practicing a meditation technique or reading spiritual literature or saying that, I have this particular guru or whatever it might be. When really it's a full, lifelong thing. It deals with every aspect of your life. And spiritual practice is not about feeling good. It's not about escaping from the world. It's about learning, realizing what you actually are. And the only way you can do that is by learning to meditate well, so that you can concentrate your awareness and you can learn to direct your attention where you want it to go. Meaning, if you want to explore your concept of God, divine consciousness, you have meditated well enough that now when you sit down, you can hold your awareness on a point of contemplation until you have the direct realization of what that is. That's all that, Yogananda did when he communed with Divine Mother. That's all that all these saints do when they commune with their aspect of God. They're just able to hold their awareness on it so long and so strong until the infinite knowledge blossoms from within and they have a direct experience of what is true. So this is what you have to do. And it requires your capacity to minimize distractions. Because think about it this way. If you're trying to take a test and you're thinking about how your girlfriend broke up with you, how you owe this money on your car insurance, how your grandma is sick and dying, how you just can't win that video game, whatever it might be. If you're thinking about all those different things, you're not able to take the test well. So the same thing applies to your capacity to meditate. You have to learn to recognize, minimize distractions within your life so that when you meditate, you are doing it well and you're doing it correctly. Now, as you know, you've probably watched enough of my videos that I'm not here to make up all kinds of silly things for you to do, new belief systems, new prayers, new practices. My goal is to tell you exactly the realistic mechanics of the situation so that you can get down to business and quit wasting your time. That's my goal. So, first thing, you've already started meditating, learning how to meditate. How do you determine what the distractions are that are preventing you from meditating well? First, ask yourself, what relationships or situations or activities are getting in the way of my capacity to commit to meditating every morning at the same time or every evening at the same time? What are those things that are getting in my way of doing that? Whatever those are, that's your first list of distractions you have to attend to and deal with. Now that's just getting you to be able to meditate. That's the first step. You have to deal with that first. The next step will be once I can meditate every day at the same time. When you're trying to meditate, when you're practicing your pranayama or your mantra technique or your contemplation, what are the thoughts that are getting in your way, that are coming in and going out and pulling your attention away from that thing you're supposed to be focusing on? What is that? Pay attention, use your self-awareness, take note of that. Whatever that is, that's going to be something that you have to deal with, to resolve. Again, it can be relationships, situations, being obsessed with social media, being obsessed with the internet, hobbies, whatever it might be. Anything that you are obsessively defining yourself through that's pulling your attention away. And this is going to be different for everybody. Meaning that what bothered me and got in my way might not be the same thing that gets in your way. So you have to figure out for you what it's going to take to sit still, learn to meditate, and then to actually calm down your mind. You have to figure out how can you deal with those things. If you feel like you need to check your phone every 5 minutes or check your email or go see what's going on in your stupid social media sites, well, you need to get a handle on that. You need to learn to minimize it, cut it out if necessary. You might say something like, oh, but what will my friends think? They're not able to keep up to date with me or see my picture of whatever. Well, who cares what your friends think? This is about developing your capacity to sit still, turn within, and commune with your concept of divinity, right? And if your friends and your social media and your TV shows are pulling your attention away from your capacity to do that, well, you're not really on a spiritual path. You may be on a wellness path, because in that regard, meditation can help to keep you calm a little bit more than usual, but it's not going to be spiritually fulfilling, or you're not going to have higher realizations, because you're just sort of stuck at that point of always keeping yourself clean. Think of it this way. Let's say you want to go to a dance, and this is just a simple example, silly example, but it'll get the point across. You want to go to a dance, and you've been out working in the field all day. So you want to go to this dance, and the first thing you got to do is take a bath, all right? Next thing you got to do is put on some nice clothes, and the next thing you got to do is go to the dance. Well, you're stuck at the point where you just keep taking a bath, and then you think, but I got to go back out and work in the field. You get dirty again. You never actually get to the point of putting on clean clothes, which would be when you are in your pristine, clear, subtle meditation state. And you never get to the point of actually going to the dance, of being able to commune directly with that aspect of divine consciousness, because you're always just cleaning yourself up. So you have to minimize the distractions so that once you're clean, now you can direct your awareness into that which you want to know until you have the realization. So for most people who say they're Kriya Yogis or meditators, all they're doing is doing stress management. They're not going to have any revelatory experiences because they still have too many distractions, and all they're doing in meditation is trying to get balance from those distractions. Hopefully this makes sense to you. So in your daily life, you have to figure out what those distractions are and cut them out. That way, the cleanup time at the beginning of your meditation is much shorter, so that you can use the rest of your meditation for higher realizations. All right? It may be that you have relationships that are dramatic, that are always pulling on your mind. Cut them out. It may be that you have a weird obligation to family members that just eats up your time. Cut it out. It's not going to make you Mr. or Mrs. Popular. It might even make you somewhat estranged from your family. But if they love you and they appreciate what you're trying to do internally with your spiritual practice, they'll forgive you and they'll move on. If they can't understand that, or they're going to make you feel guilty for it, well then, do you really want to have that relationship anyway? Because people, even family members, are just people. Because you're attached by blood doesn't mean that you need to ruin your capacity to be calm and peaceful inside because of them. All right, they have their own life to live, and they need to deal with their own things. Now, we have technology for a reason. For most people who are able to watch this video, this talk, you've got a computer, you've got electricity, you've got time. Technology is not a bad thing. If you took technology for what it's meant to be used for, you would have so much free time for your spiritual practice. So it's not about getting lost on the internet. It's not about getting lost in the latest Netflix series. It's about using it for what it needs to be used for. You have a grocery store where you don't have to work in the farm. You can run down and in 20 minutes, get everything you need and come back. You don't have to cook all day long. You've got a stove. You don't have to build a fire, for most people again. So we have all these modern conveniences that have turned into distractions, but really they're there to allow you to streamline your life so that you can have a couple hours for what is important to you. Maybe that's just a hobby. Maybe it's relationships. But for those of you watching this channel, it's probably the evolution of your consciousness. It's a lonely path as well. So, you're not going to find friends on it. And if you do, they're going to be a distraction as well. This is between you, yourself, and divine consciousness, whatever your concept of that is. You have to figure out what that is. Commune with it. See it as it is, wholly, completely, free of all of your ideas. And then you'll be able to wake up. But that requires that you cut out the distractions in your life. You cut out all the wasteful relationships. You cut out all the useless entertainment. You quit being so obsessed with social media or the internet or what happened with so-and-so, whatever it might be. And you learn to turn your attention within. Now, how you approach that is completely up to you. I cannot tell you how to do that. Only you know how your mind works, how your consciousness works. When I became involved in meditation, I got rid of my TV. I even quit listening to music for 5 years. And I was a musician all of my life. And I'm still a musician, but for 5 years, I didn't listen to any music, except for maybe some chants every now and then. Now, can you imagine a musician not listening to any music? I didn't play any of my instruments because they were distractions for me. Many of my friends I quit spending time with because there was so much drama in that relationship. I even quit spending time with a lot of my family members because of the drama, the dynamic that we had together. And that's, for me, that took about 5-8 years. I had to do that because if I didn't, then when I was meditating, all I was doing was thinking about these things, mulling over these things. So for me, I had to take an extreme approach to it. But again, as people mature, you don't have to be that extreme. In the same way that, again, when you're a first grade student and you're trying to take a test, it's got to be completely quiet. You got to be able to focus, no external distractions, no external noises. But when you're a 40-year-old adult, you can read a newspaper in a subway with people talking and you're right there paying attention to it. That's what happens when you strengthen your mind and learn to cut out distractions. So there can be distractions at that point, but now your consciousness is strong and clear enough that they're not going to bother you. They're not going to pull you off course. So you need to figure out, what do you realistically need to do? What do you realistically need to do for yourself based on who you are, so that when you sit down to meditate, you can commit to doing it every day at the same time? And then once you've got that, what do you need to do to cut out and remove all those distracting thoughts? Cut them off at the root, meaning don't try to deal with them in meditation all the time. Figure out where they are in your life and neutralize them. That way they're not a problem for you when you sit to meditate. And then, whereas you might have spent 30 minutes just trying to get calm and clear because you had to deal with all these distractions in your mind, well, now maybe it only takes you 5 minutes to deal with them because there's less bombardment from them. And then you're able to go very deeply into your meditation practice. So distractions, you really have to pay attention to them, and you have to deal with them at the root, which means you have to deal with them in your real life. Okay. Now, some distractions are harder to get rid of than others. Some of them you just have to learn to live with. If you're a parent and you have a 3-year-old kid, well, you can't just go throw your 3-year-old kid in a bucket and tell him to be quiet. You have to deal with that kid in a very loving parental way. So if that is your experience, you have to figure out for you, how do I deal with that? But if there are certain things that are not your responsibility per se, they're only your responsibility because you allow them into your life, well, those are the things that you need to cut out, get rid of, remove, until you become strong enough that they will not pull you away from your capacity to contemplate. All right, so consider this as you move forward and take it seriously. If you really want to know what self-realization is, what it's like to be awake and clear, you have to address these things. Maybe you were born with no distractions. I hardly think that's the case. But if it is, well, you're a lucky individual. But for now, this is your work. This is what you have to do so that your foundation as you move forward on this path is a solid one. And that you actually can have inner revelation versus just wasting your life trying to keep yourself internally clean because you haven't dealt with the distractions in your life. Make this life and this path as intentional and as effective as possible. And this is how you do it.